Good morning. I'm Peter Milios from the Finance News Network. US stocks experienced a volatile trading session overnight, ultimately closing lower despite an unexpected half percentage point interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve. While the rate cut initially buoyed market sentiment, concerns about the potential for economic weakness tempered enthusiasm. The Dow Jones Industrial Average declined by 103.08 points, or 0.25%. The S&P 500 lost 0.29%, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.31%. Both the S&P 500 and the Dow briefly touched record highs following the Fed's announcement, but subsequently retreated. Turning to the US sectors, all closed lower overnight except for energy and communication services. Utilities was the worst performer. In company news, Intuitive Machines shares surged by 38% following the announcement of a nearly $5 billion space network contract secured from NASA. United States Steel saw a 1.5% increase in shares after reports that a US security panel allowed Nippon Steel to resubmit its $14.1 billion acquisition bid for the company, likely delaying the decision until after the November presidential election. Victoria's Secret gained 3.5% following Barclays' upgrade of the stock from underweight to equal weight, citing a more balanced risk/reward outlook with an anticipated 6% potential upside. The Federal Reserve lowered its benchmark interest rate to a range of 4.75% to 5% from 5.2% to 5.5%, marking the first rate cut in 4 years as inflation has eased from its recent peak. The central bank expressed confidence in its ability to achieve its employment and inflation goals, citing a sustainable downward trend in inflation. Investors had increasingly anticipated a half-point rate cut in the lead up to the Fed's decision, and the central bank delivered on those expectations. However, stocks were unable to maintain their initial gains. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell sought to alleviate concerns that the rate cut signaled an underlying economic weakness. He emphasized the decision was primarily driven by a decline in upside risks to inflation. Powell stated, "I don't see anything in the economy right now that suggests that the likelihood of a downturn is elevated." And looking ahead to the Australian landscape, the SPI futures are pointing to a 0.5% fall. Thank you for listening.